old do you feel? Getting old and feeling old can be two different things. On tonight's show, you'll meet 5 people that break the mold of being old by not acting their age. Funding for the Best Times is provided by... Since 1988, the H.W. Durham Foundation has been focused on aging issues, providing grants to programs like the Best Times to enrich and improve the quality of life for our older citizens. The Best Times is the only monthly news magazine exclusively for the age 50-plus reader. Your copy is free at over 200 locations, with important stories and news you don't want to miss. The Best Times is always the best. Trezevant, a life care community, a celebration of life. The responsible decision for your well-being now and in the long term. And being responsible has never been such a hoot. TrezevantManor.org. Hello, I'm Chris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. Mae West once said, "You're never too old to become younger." The Pew Research Center has verified those words of wisdom in a study on growing old in America. In a survey of nearly 3,000 adults, they found that the older people get, the younger they feel, relatively speaking, of course. Nearly half of all respondents 50 and older said they felt at least 10 years younger. Among the 65 to 74 age bracket, 33% said they felt 10 to 19 years younger. And 1 in 6 said they felt at least 20 years younger than their chronological age. You're about to meet 5 people who confirm the results of this study because they don't act their age.
I'm a Memphis first go-go girl, and I'm thinking, do people even remember what a go-go girl is?
Back in the swinging 60s, Elsie Wilhelm, Bunny Lee to her friends, loved dancing. She was a natural. So when the owner of a private club called the Nightlighter asked her to step on stage, she said yes.
So I had to put together a costume because I didn't know, what to do, but I knew what the girls was wearing, and I tried to wear that. Well, I talk about getting a lot of press. Being the Bible Belt, buckle of the Bible Belt, evidently somebody was coming to the club and did not approve. So I had to put on more clothes. And so I started off in cocktail dresses. Well, this made them happy. So I did that. And then slowly but surely, I kind of evolved a little bit and it became okay. They just didn't want it all at once, So they had to get used to the idea.
Bunny Lee danced in clubs throughout Memphis and took her show on the road for 5 years, touring with a band through U.S. and Canada as well as military bases worldwide. Along the way, she learned to dance classic burlesque.
I got a little uncomfortable because everybody was taking it off and doing their thing, and so one day I took it off and ran off like that. I just took the top off, threw it off, and it broke up the house. They just loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing.
In addition to a career as a go-go dancer and burlesque performer, Bunny Lee has, at various times, been an accountant, a switchboard operator, a songwriter, a newspaper columnist, a dance instructor, a nutritionist, a court clerk, a clown, and a tarot card reader. While she was reading cards one day, she got an idea for a new business.
I was sitting one night reading cards, and this thought kept coming through my mind. What do people send after they send a bellygram? What do people send after they send a bellygram? That's got to be old. Don't people get enough of that? Stripogram. I do stripograms. Dan, how do you make a business card? And that was it.
She operated Bunny Lee's stripograms throughout the decade of the 90s, performing at birthday parties and other events. Occasionally, a former client will recognize her.
But I still get some recognition, especially a guy. He said, "Man, you really embarrassed me," and I still have that 8 by 10. because I'd leave behind this really cheesecakey 8x10 and say, may you always rise to every occasion.
When Bunny Lee was go-go dancing, she began to meditate, and that led her to a lifelong commitment to the practice of yoga. Today, in addition to working full-time as a court clerk, she teaches yoga at the McWhirter Senior Center.
Yoga does everything for you. Everything positive you can imagine in a lifetime. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, stress-free, happy. And I go to my doctor once a year. That's it.
The dance floor has always been Bunny Lee's stage. This is the regular Friday night meeting of the Memphis Bop Club. Bunny Lee was one of its founders 23 years ago. The DJ spins an oldie, and Bunny Lee takes to the dance floor to release her inner teenager.
I think the Bop Club gives me a place for great exercise to begin with, because I'm an athlete when I hit the floor. It gives me a lot of opportunities to meet people and interact with people. It's a big family.
The disciplines of meditation and yoga have led Bunny Lee to a belief in metaphysics and the theory of universal law. To her, age is just a number.
What you think and what you do comes back to you. Whatever you send out is what you are. Every time I say happy thoughts, I say it to myself if I say it to you. It's just, you reap what you sow, and that's a universal law. If you don't want it, you better not do it, because it'll come back. If you want it, do it. Well, it's been easy for me to laugh this lifetime. When you're a Gemini, it's easy. You're two people in this one body anyway. So, so you just go either or, Whatever life calls for, you can handle it.
Bob Beeger is a slightly built man who doesn't look or act 82 years old. In fact, he just gave up running half marathons 3 years ago.
Since I was 74 till through 79, I did run 5 half marathons. And I did pretty good, just not a real good time, but for my age it was a good time.
Bob is a former Navy man, flying off aircraft carriers during the Korea and Vietnam era. Since he's retired, he's maintained an incredible level of physical activity, starting with the bike he bought just before retiring.
Well, just before I retired, after my wife passed on, I bought that bicycle, and been biking ever since, and I've keep a log of all my bike trips, and I've been on the MS-150 ride. I've counted 15 times.
Bob's bike logbook meticulously records 10,000 miles of biking over the last 16 years. His biking trips have taken him on treks throughout the United States. And if pedaling 10,000 miles isn't enough, Bob is also a senior Olympian multiple times in over a dozen sports.
And I have about close to 140 different medals, but that was first, second, and third, and that was in my age group every 5 years. So
he's also been rock climbing, snow skiing and ice skating, hiking, snorkeling,
off the Philippine Islands, and then I snorkeled on a trip at the Great Barrier Reef.
Paragliding.
So we jumped off. I had someone in back of me to glide us around, so because that was my first time I've done it, and we sailed for maybe 20 minutes to a half an hour around, back and forth.
And even climbing to the crow's nest of a 4-masted schooner on a dare.
And one other party in that tour group did it, and I said I can do it too, so I did it, and that's the first time I'd ever done it, so it was an experience, and I enjoyed it.
With so many sports and activities, you may wonder if Bob has a favorite. He does.
Pickleball is my sport.
If you've never heard of pickleball, just imagine a supersized version of ping pong or a low-fat version of tennis. The game was invented over 30 years ago and has come into popularity at activity centers like the Owings Life Enrichment Center at Germantown United Methodist Church.
I get a lot of fun, and I get to meet camaraderie with the people I play with, and every once in a while we have new people coming in. You move around a lot, and your reactions need to be good.
Bob has been playing pickleball about 3 times a week for the last 10 years. It keeps him healthy.
I feel healthy, yes. My resting heart rate is somewhere in the 50s, middle 50s or high 50s. And
at age 82, Bob Beeger finds more than enough motivation to not act his age.
My motivation was I've read books about exercise, how good it was for your health. So I thought, well, I want to do as much exercising as I can and as much activity as I can and be among people. Since I was living by myself at first, I wanted to intermingle with other people so I could socialize and keep my mind working.
And right now, his goal in life is simple.
Keep playing pickleball as long as I can.
I pretty much do what I want to do. I don't answer to people anymore.
Alma Pittner has discovered one of the great benefits of retirement. You can do what you want. And in a moment, you'll find out what she did. Alma is 73, having just retired 5 years ago from a 42-year career as a teacher. She's been an athlete since her school days.
I ran track in high school, played basketball. In college, I played everything because that was my major.
She taught school in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, coaching successful basketball and volleyball teams. Her athleticism continued into her retirement. She was a member of 3 senior Olympic basketball teams, reaching the national tournament in Pittsburgh in 2007. Alma also founded the Pittner Driving School and taught driver's education. She was one of the first educators in the country to establish a curriculum for handicapped drivers.
I handled all of the special needs and handicapped students throughout the 30 high schools.
These days, you're likely to see Alma at one of the local tennis courts.
I play tennis on a regular basis twice a week. I play with girls my age on Thursday. They're wonderful tennis players. One lady is nearly 85, and when she puts a spin on the ball and serves it or returns it, you'll pick up your racket and you might just miss that ball because it'll move all the way over there. She can place them well, and they're all so much fun to play with. I hope that I can maintain my health and play tennis until I'm 95. If I were to die on the tennis court with a heart attack, you'd say Alma was happy when she died.
In her younger days, while she was teaching swimming, she had a dream.
I always would dive off the high board and flip and things like that. And I always thought I'd love to be up there going through those clouds if I could, you know. And then I even saw the bucket list, and I thought, they're not ahead of me, because I've thought about that for years. And then I decided, I don't have any kids at home. I'm by myself. I'm going to skydive. We did what you call a free fall without the parachute. You don't hear each other, you can't talk. The velocity of the wind, my hair was straight, as you'll see in the pictures. But I never was afraid, and yet they had told me you might get queasy, dizzy, your ears may pop, do this, do that. I didn't have to do that. I felt that God was sitting beside me saying, Alma, this is your day. Have a great time and don't worry, and I didn't. When he opened the parachute, he asked me, would you like to turn and flip? I said, I want everything. And he started flipping and turning, and the earth just circled around me. It was beautiful, though. And then right before we landed, he said, now, I want your feet up, and we're going in on our butts. Well, that's the only time I thought I might not play tennis anymore, you know. It might break something. But I went in and it was just as smooth as silk. People have asked me, why would you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? And I just wanted to, you know.
Whether fulfilling a lifelong dream or just playing tennis with friends, Alma's advice is to stay active and do what you want to do.
I feel like, you know, it's not all about me, but when I want to do something, I've done for everybody else all of my life. Now I'm doing for Alma. First time in my life.
I tell you, the longer you stay in medicine, you realize still a lot has to be done.
At age 77, Dr. Jerry Freeman still goes to work every day at Mecca, Memphis Eye and Cataract Associates. He still examines patients and performs cataract surgery, often using techniques and implants that he invented. But all work and no play makes even a world-renowned ophthalmologist a dull boy.
The joy of flight is something it's almost tangible.
Dr. Freeman is a former Navy helicopter pilot. He owns a turbine helicopter, but his favorite aircraft is this plane. It's called an AirCam, a lightweight, kit-built twin-engine design that was developed as an aerial camera platform for National Geographic magazine.
Well, this is like flying around in almost like a canoe. You see excellent vision right down below, straight in front of you around. It's like sitting on a magic carpet. Here in the Mississippi, we have a wonderful place to fly. I take off and I pull the power back and I just coast down, go down to about 25 feet above the water. There's one island across from the park down here downtown. If you look at it, it's not an island, but it's an island out in the field. There's some trees. There are 2 or 3 trees over here, and it's like through the center there is just wide enough for me to fly a plane. So I go across these fields about 10 or 15 feet above it, and I take my friends, and they go, these trees go whoop whoop, it's like that, and it's very safe and sort of meant like being on a roller coaster, except close to the ground, and it's just like riding a motorcycle in the sky or something like that. It's just exciting.
The passion that Dr. Freeman has for flight is fully matched by his passion for his work. Flying often gives way to philanthropy. In 1978, Dr. Freeman founded the World Cataract Foundation.
Simply speaking, we want to reduce world cataract blindness.
Over the years, Dr. Freeman has developed tools, techniques, and affordable intraocular lenses that have given sight to people in dozens of poor and developing countries worldwide. An army of volunteer surgeons and support staff make these free surgical procedures possible.
And we'll do 150 to 200 cases of cataracts and implants. Within about 4.5 days, we'll have 4 beds or 5 beds running. We put drops in their eyes. We measure the front curvature of the eye with the speed of light, the length of the eye with the speed of sound, put that into a computer formula, and it kicks out the power of the lens that goes inside the eye, and we start operating.
It's estimated that 25 million people worldwide suffer from cataract blindness, and most of those people are in developing countries, where poverty and lack of medical services doom people to a sightless life. But Dr. Freeman knows the rewards of bringing sight to the blind.
A 40-year-old mother came in with a 4 or 5-year-old child, and she had never seen this child. And that means that she conceived him probably while she was blind. She carried him for 9 months while she was blind, birthed him while she was blind, and probably changed his diapers, fed him while she was blind, dressed him. And then 5 years later, she came in, we saw her, removed her cataract, put in lens implants, and saw her child for the first time.
Tens of thousands of people around the world are thankful for Dr. Freeman's skill with his 77-year-old hands. Not acting your age isn't just about what you get out of life. It's also about what you give to others.
And knowing that you've intervened, that you've done that, that's the reward. The reward of that is something that is priceless.
I know some people that are 80 that I don't feel as old as they act.
80-year-old Ann Norris isn't the shy and retiring type. She spent a career at Holiday Inns as a writer in the public relations department. In the early 70s, she was assigned to do publicity for the Holiday Inn-sponsored entrant in the Women's Powder Puff Derby, a transcontinental air race. She spent the first year on the ground writing about the flying, but by the second year, she felt she was missing out on the excitement.
But finally I got smart. I mean, you know, that was pretty dumb. I had to do it 2 years. And I thought, when I came back that second year, I thought, I'm going to get my license. I can do that. And then I can dump the co-pilot, because the co-pilot wasn't a Holiday Inn lady. She was nice, but she wasn't one of us. So I dumped her and bumped her out of her seat, and I got my private license, and I flew 2 years in the Powder Puff Derby.
Her career as a pilot and an air racer was cut short in 1972.
My children worried a little bit about me out flying so much. Sometimes we did have some kind of, you know, narrow escapes of things happened. We lost our engine one time, you know, some things like that, and had to declare emergency. And that kind of worried, especially my middle son. He was about 16 at the time, and he worried about Mom up there in the airplane, so it wasn't worth it, so I quit flying. Didn't fly anymore.
Although she doesn't fly anymore, she still has a passion for writing. And at age 71, Ann became a published author with her first book, The Charm Bracelet, a collection of stories. She's followed up with 2 more books and takes pride in being a published writer in her 8th decade of life.
It's kind of nice, you know. I don't make any money, but I have fun with it. I have sold a lot of books. You know, I published myself. I'm self-published, of course, so I don't make any money. I mean, you know, if you sell it in the bookstore, they get 40%, so you know, and you don't print 1,000 books at once because you don't know if they're going to sell. So the first book I told my husband, I said, I wonder how many I ought to print. He said, oh, I wouldn't print over 100. Well, I've now sold over 800 locally without anybody pushing them, I think.
Ann is currently working on an autobiography and a play. When she's not writing stories, she's telling them. Ann is a member of the Memphis Storytellers League, an organization founded in 1928 to bring entertainment to nursing homes and retirement centers.
I like to tell my own stories that I wrote. It's something I can do, and I think it's an enjoyment. It's a gift maybe that I can give to others that doesn't really cost me anything.
Ann just celebrated her 80th birthday in March. She still stays active by walking 5 miles a day.
I don't feel old. I don't. I feel like I could do most anything.
At age 40, Ann got her pilot's license. To mark her 80th birthday, she jumped out of an airplane.
It was so exciting. It was so exciting. I really was. I wasn't scared of it. Only they practice. You know, you practice how you're going to jump. They've got a plane sitting there, so you practice bending over and arching your back. And one thing they say is keep breathing now, keep breathing, because that first 60 seconds, and when you're just like that wind in your face just really takes your breath. So you really have to. Or I had to concentrate, keep breathing, because it feels like you can't get a breath. But I didn't mind jumping or anything. It was as soon as the chute opened, you know, it's like a bird. You're just floating around up there.
I asked Ann what she'd like to do on her next birthday. She's got a few things in mind.
You know, I've never been up in a hot air balloon. Wouldn't that be great to ride in the blimp? I don't think I want to bungee jump. basically, I guess I just write and tell stories and walk and jump out of airplanes and things like that.
The great baseball pitcher Satchel Paige played professionally until he was 60 years old. He once said, "Age is a question of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter." Maybe that attitude is the real fountain of youth. Funding for the Best Times is provided by Trezevant, a life care community, a celebration of life. The responsible decision for your well-being now and in the long term. And being responsible has never been such a hoot. TrezevantManor.org. The Best Times is the only monthly news magazine exclusively for the age 50-plus reader. Your copy is free at over 200 locations with important stories and news you don't want to miss. The Best Times is always the best. Since 1988, the H.W. Durham Foundation has been focused on aging issues, providing grants to programs like The Best Times to enrich and improve the quality of life for our older citizens.